एक ये देखिए सर,
अस्सलामुअलैकुम।
इम्पोर्ट ऑर्ग ये
हम्म
शो कर रहा है। तो मैं
हम्म
जब इस पर हूँ तो सर ये डायरेक्टली यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं आ रहा। मैंने सारा देखा सर करके, कंट्रोल शिफ्ट ओ
या
इज नेम व्हाट
इसको दे दो,
एंटिटी।
ऐप ऐप दे दो, एपीपी। छोटे पैकेज के नाम में छोटा हमेशा, हाँ ओके। एंड मेक वन मोर। फॉर्म डॉट SCS डॉट एंटिटी।
ओके।
Yes. And now right click on the source again, and now make a folder. No, new. Make a folder by the name resources. छोटा छोटा folder में। Yes. Now try to paste my files in the respective folders. मेरा जो फाइल आपको सेंड किए हैं वो इन फोल्डर्स में कॉपी पेस्ट करो।
ओके,
Okay.
थैंक
So
यू सर।
today we will start with Spring Boot. Okay. Today is the first day. So all this while we were just preparing up for this event, and today is the first day of your hands-on to Spring Boot. Today you'll get an idea as to what Spring Boot is. Okay. So I give a disclaimer whenever I start with Spring Boot. All that Java which you have been doing till now, if you have understood everything of that and you have done the practicals and the assignments on time, then Spring Boot will be the easiest thing in Java you will be learning. You will tell to yourself, if this is what Spring Boot is, then this is the easiest thing in Java which I'll be learning. So actually the developers which they work on is the easiest part of Java. So we have crossed all the difficult terrains, okay? Now it is all smooth sailing for us. So it is among all the topics in our syllabus, Spring Boot is the most easiest topic. So even if you all give 15% of your attention and energy to Spring Boot, you all will still excel. Okay, so there's nothing to worry and nothing to take a burden of that what this Spring Boot entity will be. It's very easy, very streamlined. The architecture is so streamlined and so beautifully designed that you yourself will repeat after me that yes sir, what you are told in the first session, that Spring Boot is really very easy and we're finding it very easy to code in Spring Boot. So why is it easy? I'll explain with the help of this diagram. I hope my screen is visible to you all. My
Not yet,
screen
sir.
visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Visible, right?
Yes.
So what they have done is, so what they have done in the Spring Boot architecture is they have made different layers. Okay, so your program will have different layers. By layers I mean packages. So one package is, you are familiar with the entity package. Who can just do a brush up of what this entity package does, or the model package? Yes, we used it in the Spring Bean app.
Sir, IOC controller is entity and no, it's
What all
the
classes was the model package holding? What classes were there in SCS dot com.scs dot model?
engine and
What type of classes are there? They
engine
are
and gear
they,
and
those are Pojo classes. What are those?
Pojo classes. Yes, sir.
A plain old Java object classes. Okay. So your data classes. Data, see the configuration is there in the XML file, right? With that XML configuration, what sort of objects am I making? Those classes will be in the model package. The configuration is there, like as we had in the example SCS, Bharat Stage 6, and 12-liter engine. These are the values, right?
Properties. Yes, sir.
So these values will be mapped to which properties?
Car. Car properties.
Car properties. So car class will be in which package?
In model class,
So model
com.scs.
package will just hold the data.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the Pojo classes. So at the very, see, if we are doing web development, right?
Yes, sir.
Web application. So where does the web application journey begin from? So if you are using Gmail or Flipkart or any of your web applications, the journey starts from the front end, the customer, right? So the customer will log in through his or her laptop or mobile or iPad or desktop, whatever machine. So these are all which machines? Desktop.
Compute computer
These are all machines used by the user, front end machine.
user front end. Yes.
So if you want to shop from Flipkart, you can shop via desktop or via iPad.
Keyboard.
You can shop via keyboard or laptop or mobile. You'll use either of these machines, right? So the UI of that application will be visible to you all on this machine. The user interface of your application of Flipkart, Amazon, Gmail, YouTube is visible to you all on your front end machines. So the user, so I'll draw a line. This is the front end part. Which part of the application?
Front end part.
So towards the left hand side of this line is your front end. So to know front end, you should know. So to display the data on the front end, you should know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Or any of the flavors of JavaScript such as React.js or AngularJS. So this is the job of your front-end developer towards the left-hand side of the red line. So to display the data on the customer's screen is whose responsibility? How the data will be displayed to me on my laptop and what the end user will see. So it is whose responsibility? Front-end developer or back-end developer?
Front end developer.
And front-end developer should be comfortable with which language?
HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Okay. Now,
React.js.
once the customer he logs in and he wants to access our application, he's logging through a mobile or laptop. So he sends a request. Okay. So let's say, for example, we are Gmail. Who are we? So what all things you need to provide to log into Gmail? If this is your Gmail page, login page of Google Mail, what all things does it ask for?
Gmail ID and its password.
Username, password.
Email
Yes.
ID and password, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this will be displayed to the user. And once the user populates these two text boxes and hits login, what happens? Internet should be on or off?
On, sir.
Off.
On, sir, on.
Internet will be on, right? So
Yes, sir.
when he clicks on login, what happens internally? The request goes to the Gmail server, correct?
Yes.
So as we click on login, the request has come from the front end to the back end, right?
Yes, sir.
So request means now you have crossed the border from the back end. All this while you are in the front end. Now, as you click on login, the request has come to the back end part. So where does the request comes to? The first layer which the request will come to is your controller layer. Which layer?
Controller.
So this is your first layer. So this is the reception. You know, you go to a restaurant or you go to a hotel, a five-star hotel. So who is the first person you meet over there? You got the reception, right?
Con
And then you show your credentials that I have made a booking over here. This is my name. This is my ID. And then she will cross check and then she says, yes, sir. So controller is like the receptionist. So whenever
reception.
the request comes, it hits which layer first?
Receptionist.
In our application, who?
Controller. Controller.
So controller will receive the request. What is controller's job?
Receive the request.
Controller's job is to receive the request come from the front. Okay, this is what the controller is. So first layer will be your controller layer. It will receive the request. So every request is linked to an endpoint. Every request is linked to a
Endpoint.
endpoint. Remember when we were doing servlets, we were giving action.
Yes, sir.
What was that action doing? Any guesses? When we were doing servlets, if you'll remember, what was the action doing?
Mm,
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
The question is, what was this action? You guys haven't been practicing, I guess, right? This is the amount of effort which you all have put in, then I guess I'll have to put one half of that effort. Yes, Shabana, what is this action doing? What does this action do in a servlet?
So user defined actions.
And what is the
Yeah.
purpose of defined action? This action, it goes to the web XML. You'll see my screen, right? So with that action, I have an entry in the web XML. So whatever action I had over here, USA AMS, I'll have a URL pattern, right? And then that URL pattern is linked to a servlet name, and that servlet name is linked to the servlet class which will handle my request. So when I click on submit, which class has the code of adding these two numbers?
Addition.java.
Addition.java. How did we go to addition.java? So I mapped my action
With
with a
USA.
Apple, and then
Yes.
Apple stick is mapped to addition.
Addition.
Code for the addition will be in this .java file, addition.java, correct?
Yes, sir.
So my question again is, what is this action role? What is the role which this action attribute is playing? It is helping us in mapping. That when I click on submit, because at the servlet, at the server side, will there be only one servlet? Why,
No, multiple.
why do we need the reception? When I go to a 7-star or 5-star hotel, is there only one room?
No, multiple rooms and to
500,
get
600 rooms, right? So if there was only one room, then why would I need a receptionist? I would directly go in that room because I know there's only one room.
right.
I need the receptionist because there are 700 rooms and there are 17 floors. And I don't know which floor and which room I have booked, right? So receptionist will guide me. So I
Yes.
show the booking ID to the receptionist. Okay, my booking ID is USA AMS. Then she will search, okay, sir, for USA AMS, the room number is addition. So you can go in the addition room, correct?
Yes.
So this is called as routing. What is this called as? Now, if the next customer come, will he give the same action? Will the next customer who comes after me, will he give the same booking
No.
ID?
No.
He'll give some different booking ID, right?
Right.
So she will check in that and tell, okay, you go over here, right? So
Yes.
my question is, what is the job of the web XML? The job of the web XML is routing the request. What is the job of the web XML?
Routing.
Routing the request which we have got. So those many requests we will have, those many set of servlet third mappings we will have, correct? So if I have 3 servlets, addition.java, subtraction.java, multiplication.java, I will have 3 pair, like here see how we have a pair of servlet mapping, a pair of servlet mapping. Like this, you'll have multiple pairs. So what is this doing? It is routing. So what it is telling that if the URL pattern is this servlet request example, then link it to which keyword? Request info example, and then go up and then link the request info example to this servlet class request info example class. So this web XML is just doing the routing part, is taking care. That routing part in our application will be taken care by which layer? Which layer?
Controller.
Controller layer. So there will be no logic, there will be no if or while in this control. It is just the purpose of routing, that you come here, you go there, right?
Just showing the path.
Just showing the path, absolutely. Now the controller will just receive the request, right? And the controller will now give the request for processing to the service layer. Which layer? Which is the second layer? Service. Which layer?
Service layer.
The service layer will contain all the business logic. All your business logic will be where in the, so all your programming concept, if, for, while, arrays, whatever core Java concepts will be there in the service layer, but there is where you will apply the logic. And now, if there is a need for the database, so we had JDBC, correct?
Yes, sir.
So for that, they have a new layer called as repository, or called as DAO layer. Which layer? Data access object. Which layer?
Data access object.
Okay, so we also call it as the repository layer.
Yes, repository.
This will have your read and write access to the database. To whom?
Database. Read, write
At the
access to
end
database.
of the spectrum, you will have the database. whichever database that may be. Whichever database that may be. So this is your database, okay? Whichever database you're comfortable with, your company is using. Okay, the company might use MySQL, might use
Right.
Postgres,
Postgres, Oracle.
okay, might use Oracle, might use MS Access, okay, might use a cloud database called as Snowflake. Okay, database such as Snowflake. So all this, any of them. So now, and this is the architecture of your Spring Boot project. Simple. This is how it will flow. This is the direction of the request, and this is the direction of the response. So we will send the response. We will get the request from the user, and we will send the response. So who has understood the architecture so far? Okay.
Well,
And what is being, see, if let's say these are the organs, or so what is being transported from one place to other? The blood, right? So the blood which flows in the application is your entity class. Which are they? Your
And entity class.
yeah. So you have to make these 4 primary packages. Which are the 4 primary packages which we have to make?
Controller.
Colored them in black, green, blue, and let me
Yes,
take
sir.
one
Black, green, blue, and
and
orange.
purple. So how many packages will our basic Spring Boot application have? How many
Controller,
or
controller,
Uh,
service, repository, and database.
Database is at the back end. Database we will not make a package. This is our MySQL.
So, sir, 3.
So,
Only 3,
and
no, sir?
purple,
Purple also, yes, sir.
which is that
Entity.
entity. So
Yes.
how many, and which is the heart and soul of the program?
Controller,
No. Which method is the heart and soul of the program? Without which the application cannot run. Which is
main
that
class, main class.
main class. So for that main class, we'll have a app. We'll have a package which will hold the main class. Okay. So let me take a different color, brown color for that. So we'll be having these 5 packages. Okay. So you can call that as the application package. And that application package will have the main method. So now tell me how many packages will be there in our basic Hello World Spring Boot project. Tell me
5. sir.
which are there.
Controller, service, repository, entity, and yeah, main class, sir. Our application will start from.
So these are the 5 packages which will be making.
Yes.
Controller,
Service,
service,
repository,
repository,
entity,
entity, and
application.
application will just have the main method, and main
Public static
is
void.
a
Yes.
single line. It will be just a
Single line.
single line code. So how many lines will be there in the main method?
Only single line.
Single line, just to activate the program, because the program will not execute. Okay, so this is like a lighter.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to do cooking for 3 hours, if you want to cook for 3 hours, how many minutes will I need a lighter to light the gas?
Second, sir. It took
1 second, right?
second. Yes, sir.
So that is the work of your main application. Just you have to light up the application. Right?
Okay.
It will not do anything. But without the lighter, my gas will not start, correct?
Yes, sir.
The main is just to light up the application. So who can now summarize this for me, this diagram, someone in his or her own words? Yes, who can now summarize this diagram for me?
Sir, we have two end. First is
You have 12.
fronted. Two ends. First is fronted and second one is back end.
Okay.
So first front-end part is done by front-end developer, that is used for desktop, iPad, laptop.
These
In
are machines. These are
Yes, sir.
machines via which
Machines,
you can access your application.
UI,
Yes,
user
these are
interface.
machines via which you can send the HTTP request. What are these?
Yes, sir.
These are,
HTTP request.
you have to send a HTTP request, right? So to send the HTTP request, you need a browser. You need a
Browser.
Yes,
browser, and you can open the browser on any of these machines, right?
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So you can open it on a desktop, iPad, laptop,
Laptop,
mobile,
mobile.
or whichever machine you can think of.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so once the request comes to the backend, now how does the request flow? Who can help me?
Yes, sir. Then, sir, in which you have to type any input. Then this input values goes into backend.
Mhm.
In
Okay,
backend,
if the
the
input is to if the input is to authenticate a Gmail user, so I will get
yes.
a user ID, I'll get a password, right?
Password, yes, sir. Then this
So the
credential match with the Google
user
database.
will send me Alice and alice@gmail.com. Okay, whatever is the name. Okay, user will send me this. So now just a simple question. Okay, just use your common sense and answer this. Okay, Alice at the rate. Okay, whichever is the provider, Gmail, blah blah blah, and password is Alice123. Now user has sent me this. Now to store this in my application, what will I do? I will make a class, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a class called user. So my question is, what all attributes will that class have, and where will I make that class? In which package? So what will be the attributes of this class? What sort of
That
data?
username and password.
Yeah, so then what should I take your name for you to answer? What all data is coming? Data is coming, username and password, right? So we'll have two attributes. What are they? String,
Username.
username, and in which package will I create this? Which package will I create this class?
Repositories, entity.
This is the data, no?
Yes, sir, entity.
So this will be in the which package? Whatever data is flowing to and from the application, that will be your entity classes. So whatever you want to take a request in or send a response, make entity classes for that. Making sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now I will take the request. Okay. Then we have endpoints. Okay. So very important question. See, if I am making a college application, which application?
College.
Yeah. So I want to do all the CRUD API. You know what is CRUD?
Create, read, update, delete.
Yeah. So I want to create CRUD APIs. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I want to make one form. I want to make one front end form for add teacher. Which form?
Add teacher.
So if a new teacher has enrolled,
Okay, sir.
the administration team will open this form, add teacher. So what all details will they take of that teacher?
Teacher
Teacher
name.
name,
Then
So
specialization.
teacher ID will be automatically incremented, right?
Yes.
That we will not take. Let's just take simple teacher name, teacher gender, teacher date of birth. Let's take 3 attributes. Okay. Let's
Little
not.
is specialization भी ना.
Okay, that you can play around with once you get the concept. So you take
Okay, sir.
name, you take teacher name, teacher gender, and you take date of birth. Rest, just for example's sake, restrict ourselves to these 3 attributes. Okay. Now there will be a button over here saying add teacher. Yes or no? Or
Yes.
submit whatever name you all want to give. So when I click on this save, or let's take save. Save. What task am I expecting the application to perform?
All data are saved in
When I click on this save button over here now, what am I asking the application to do?
To save teacher
New
information.
data and show in teachers of college.
Yeah, so in my database, let's say if I am AIMS, okay, it's any college I have taken, okay, and so this is my AIMS DB in my MySQL. So there will be a table by the name teacher.
Yes, sir.
Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Columns with that table have
Teacher name.
4 columns because
Yes,
ID
sir.
automatically be incremented, right?
Yes, sir.
So ID, name.
ID, name, gender, and date of birth.
So if I enter the details as, so ID automatically incremented. So let's say ID becomes 1. And if I enter name as A, okay, and gender as F, and date of birth as today's date, 2610. Let's say she's 40 years old. So date of birth will be what? 86, 83. So whatever I am inserting should go in the database, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. So this is the table which I have made, right? So we'll go and insert in this date. So when I click on save, so now what happens is when I click on this save, no, I will link it like how we had action. Remember what was action's job? What was the job of action?
Mapping.
Mapping, right? So now I will
Yes, sir.
have a action in the form of a endpoint, form of a.
And
I will say that you go to this endpoint, aims/add teacher. Which endpoint?
teaching.
Add teacher. So in my controller, I will have something to receive this. So if there is aims/add teacher, you come to this method. You come to this method, like, okay, whatever method name you want to give. So this is how it is doing the mapping. So for each method, I will have a different mapping. This is just a pseudo code, okay? It has a request mapping over here. What does it have over here? Okay, so what was the mapping? Aim/add teacher. It will map to a function. Public void. You can give the same name also if you wish to. So this is that function add teacher, which will receive my request. And then what we call it as request mapping. What do we call it as? Request mapping or get mapping. Okay. As of now, just stick to this. In double quotes, you have to give the mapping. So when will the code of the add teacher method be executed? When will the code for this method be executed? Public void add teacher.
When you want to add data
So
input.
when the user clicks on this save, which
Yes.
endpoint is
Yes.
triggered?
Without saving, it will not execute.
No, when the
Yes.
user enters the details, okay, whatever name, Alice, female, date of birth, and when he clicks on save, which endpoint is hit? This is called as
And
endpoint.
teacher.
Name slash add teacher, right?
Add teacher. Yes.
So it will go to the controller first and check
Yes.
which method is mapped with aim slash add teacher. This method is mapped, right? So code of this method will be executed. Are you getting what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So this method will receive the request, rather, if you can say this. This method will receive the request for the add teacher. Okay, let me take one more example. Now one teacher has left the organization and we want to delete that teacher. So there will be one more separate form for that, correct? Yes or no?
Resignation form.
Yes. So there will be delete teacher. Okay, she already resigned. Resignation has been accepted and delete teacher. So we will just search for the teacher ID because every teacher will have a unique ID.
Yes.
We will just search for the TID and we will just enter that TID over here and click on delete, right?
Yes.
This is the button. Now, what will happen with this now?
Controller will fetch the
It
data.
will be mapped to a endpoint.
Yes.
So this save was mapped to which endpoint?
Add teacher.
Aim slash add teacher, correct?
Yes.
So this delete will be mapped to which endpoint?
Aims slash grade teacher.
Perfect. Delete teacher. Okay. So in the controller, we will have a request mapping, a method for request mapping this also. So in the controller, we will have @request mapping and we'll give the entire action in double quotes. And which method will receive this request? Okay, you can use the same name also. If you want, you can use the same name. Which method will receive that request?
Delete teacher.
So this will receive the request for delete a teacher. Yes or no?
Yes.
So okay. So now while deleting a teacher, I was passing what? The teacher ID, correct? So
Yes.
this function will take an integer as an argument. This function will take what as an argument? Int TID, which the teacher ID which I want to delete. The teacher ID which I want to delete. Okay. What will this take? This will take the entire teacher object as an argument. So I'll have a Pojo class called teacher, and whatever details I am sending will come in this teacher class object over here. So the function will have the arguments based on the task what they are performing. So like this, if I have the CRUD endpoints for all, create, read, if I want to get all teachers information, then if I have a endpoint wherein I want to get all the teacher info, what will I do? Create an endpoint with aims get all teacher info. And what will this give me?
Complete data of the teachers.
Select star from teacher.
Yes, sir.
What will that give me?
List of teachers.
Top teachers. Very good. Yeah, and this will give me public. Okay, now it will give me a list of teachers, right? The public list of teachers. And function name, you can use the same. You can use the same function. So when and what will this do? It will receive the request. Request to view all teachers. Okay, if I want to just view the details of teacher number 1. So if I give you the ID and I ask you what are the details of this teacher. So if I give you ID 1, you should give me Alice, female, and 2610 1983. So for that we'll have one more endpoint.
Yes.
We'll have what? aim/get single teacher info. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So each front end button will be mapped to a endpoint, and in the controller I will have mapping for each of those endpoints over here. Am I understood what I'm trying to say? Who's understood this request mapping?
Repeat again the last one.
So now when I map this to get single teacher info, what will be the parameter of this single teacher info? The teacher ID, right?
Yes.
It will return me a teacher object. So only teacher. Who's understanding this 2 lines? What is this doing? Anyone who can explain this to me? So what is this get single teacher info?
It will fetch the teacher ID and then will show us.
So in the front end, no, the front end will deal in terms the basic communication between the front end and the back end is in the form of endpoints, the form of.
Endpoint.
So if the front end want to do any task, it will try to invoke that endpoint. So if the front end wants to save a teacher, which endpoint will the front end invoke?
Add teacher.
Add teacher.
And then that there will be some controller method which is receiving that request, right?
Request
Yes.
mapping.
So that add teacher will come to which controller method? Add teacher, right?
Yes, sir.
And all these details I will bundle up into a teacher Pojo object. All these details I will bundle into a,
Teacher Pojo object.
and that Pojo object I will pass as an argument to this request over here. So now T has all the details. T has all these details: Alice, female, and 261083. Getting it?
Yes.
Now, if someone on the front end wants to delete a teacher, so they will open a form, and when they hit the button,
It will go to the
delete
controller and the controller will send.
So that delete button is mapped to an endpoint, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Which is that
Delete.
endpoint?
Delete teacher.
Delete teacher.
And then it will be received by in the controller, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So when you are trying to delete a teacher, you will pass the unique primary key of the teacher, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So that method will have a unique integer as an argument, and that TID will come over here. So when you are trying to delete teacher number 1, Alice, you will pass 1 right over here.
Yes.
So who will store that one? So how do I know? How does my delete teacher method know which teacher to delete? So this 1 will come in which variable? Will be received by which variable? Will be received by this variable in TID. Getting it?
Yes, sir. Int ID. Definitely.
Okay.
Integer ID.
Okay. Now, what are the basic HTTP methods you all know? Basic HTTP methods are get,
Get and post.
post, put, and delete. Okay. So now when I'm trying to save a teacher, what am I trying to do? Add a new entry to the database. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So when you try to add a new entry, you are trying to do a post. You are trying to do a, always remember this.
Post, sir.
So whenever you're
Yes,
trying to
sir.
save, whenever you're trying to,
Save new data. Yes.
so
New
use
entry.
what?
Post.
Save means,
Insert.
okay.
Like posting a picture on Instagram.
Yeah. And now what will I call when I try to delete a teacher?
Delete.
Delete and so delete request. That is called which request?
Delete.
And if let's say teacher number 1 has changed her mobile number, okay, she says that I have changed my mobile number, please update my new mobile number. So we are
Put.
taking attribute mobile number also of the teacher. Now she says that please update my mobile number, or old mobile number, that same is not no more in operation. Then what will I call? Update teacher, right?
Yes, sir.
That you will call put request. What will you call?
Put.
Put.
Update.
Okay. And whenever you want to do a select, whenever you want to do a,
Select.
that time you call a get request. Am I
Okay.
understanding? Am I understood? So
Yes,
select
sir.
you will call in these two cases. Get all teacher you are selecting, and get a single teacher you are selecting, right? So get all teachers is without a where clause, and this is with a where clause, correct? So whenever you are trying to select or fetch, use which request?
Get.
Get.
And if you don't know which one to use, then use request mapping. Then use which mapping?
Request mapping.
Request mapping will work for all four of them. Will work for,
All four of them.
yeah, but
Either to add or delete or update.
yes. But if you are doing get, use what?
It will act accordingly.
But if you are using get, use what? Get
Select.
mapping. If you are using
Get
post, then
mapping.
use
Post mapping.
yes. And if you are doing put, then use.
Put mapping.
And if you
Delete
are doing
mapping.
then use.
Delete mapping.
And request mapping will work for all four of them. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Request mapping will work for all four of them. So here I have used request mapping everywhere. So what are we doing over here?
Res-
What are we doing over here? What task? You
Sir,
see?
add teacher, na sir.
So
It
what
means we
request,
are saving.
what mapping am I using over here?
Post.
Put mapping.
I'm using request mapping, right? I am using, what am I using
Yeah,
currently?
using request mapping. Yes, sir.
Request mapping.
What could I have used better?
Post, no, sir.
Yes, I gotta use post because I'm adding a resource,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir. Post mapping.
I'm gonna use post mapping. Rest remains the same. Bracket part remains the same. Okay.
Okay.
Then what am I doing over here?
Request mapping.
What am I doing over here?
Delete.
So
Request
what
mapping.
could I
First.
use better?
Yes, sir.
I could have used delete mapping, right?
Delete mapping. Yes, sir.
The rest all remains the same. Inside part doesn't change.
Yes.
What am I doing over here? Get single teacher. So get all teacher.
Get all.
So I could have used better. Get mapping.
Getter. Yes, sir.
And what am I doing over here? Get single teacher.
Get. Yes, sir. Get mapping.
So use the HTTP methods wisely. Making sense to you all?
Yes, sir. Sir, it's called annotation, no, sir? Request mapping. Yeah.
Whatever is followed with the @ is called an annotation.
Annotation. Yes, sir.
Whatever is followed by @ that is called as annotation.
Annotation. Yes, sir.
So now the controller will just receive the request. What does the controller do?
Just receive the request.
Now the entire logic of adding will go to whom?
Service.
So now the controller will then pass on that object once it has created an object. So
Yeah.
objects will flow now between these two. What will flow?
Object is
Object
flow.
or your data types will flow, or the variables will flow, whatever. So if the object is flowing, that object will be in which package? What will be transferred from controller to the service layer?
Object and variable. No, sir?
The object will be of a class, right?
Yes, object of the class.
So where will that class be in which package? That object which is being sent from the controller to the service. will be of a particular class, right?
Yes, sir.
My question is, in which package will that class be? Entity package. Which package?
Entity, yes.
Whatever data is being, whatever data is flowing between the application,
Yes, yes, entity, yes, sir.
all entity classes. What are these?
Entity classes, yes.
Now, if I want to add a teacher, I will pass the teacher object. Teacher class will be in which package?
Entity,
Entity package. Getting it?
entity package, yes, sir.
So this data will flow, and this will come to the service. Okay. Now service will apply the business logic. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So service will check that if the teacher his age is less than 40, so such teacher is not, we are not hiring such teachers. We are hiring only 40 and above, or at times they say 40 and below. Okay. So if you go to merchant navy, you know what is merchant navy?
No, sir.
So there they have an age criteria that you cannot be more than 45 years. So our application has come for merchant navy and the person is 47 years. Will he be accepted? In merchant navy, let's say the maximum age is 45. So will they
No,
accept the
no,
47-year
sir.
old? And is the reverse case in the school, in the college? In college, I want experienced teachers. I don't want young teachers. So
Okay.
my minimum age is 40. But if Alice is 38 now, will Alice be
Eligible
granted?
is not eligible for the post,
So
yes, sir.
that logic will apply where?
Service,
Yes. So I will say if whatever this object is, object name is T, right? If
yes,
dot
T,
get age is less than or equal to less than 40, then I will say invalid age. And if it is there, else then I will save this data in the database, right? So all the business logic will be taken care by which layer?
service layer.
Service layer. Okay. So controller will just receive the request and pass it on to the service layer. Service layer will do the business logic if needed, and then it will give it to the whom to save. To save it will
Repository, repository layer.
repository layer has built-in support for SQL. Okay, so all the SQL queries, it has built-in support. So it has various methods like save, dot delete, dot find. It has various methods for millions of methods. You can say hundreds of methods. It has ready-made method. Hundreds of
Ready-made method.
methods to store and retrieve data. To store and data to and from database. So, which is a specialized layer to communicate with the database? Which is a specialized layer to communicate with the database?
Repository,
Repository. So whenever the service want to save anything to the database or fetch from the database, it will give that task of to whom?
repository layer.
And repository layer will then fetch from the database and give it to us.
Yes, sir.
So is this
Okay.
application overview understood? Is the task of these 5 packages understood to you all? Who's comfortable with these 5 packages? One, controller, service, repository, entity, and application. Who can summarize it fast in less than a minute?
Sir,
Yes.
first, yes, sir. First, it will go into controller class. Controller class will all manage all this, like our service layer, repository layer, and sir,
What will the
entity.
controller class manage?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
What is the purpose of the controller class?
To map
Mapping. Yes.
Yes, all the,
To
so from
mapping.
the front end will deal in endpoints. Front end will deal in
Yes.
Endpoints.
endpoints.
To save, it will call this endpoint. To delete, it will call this
Yes,
endpoint. To get features,
endpoints.
it will call this endpoint. So how do I know
Yes,
which endpoint is doing what task? So I will map each endpoint to a particular method, correct?
particular method. Yes, sir.
So the
Like
controller will
post
receive
mapping,
the
delete mapping.
request.
Yes, sir.
Controller will receive that particular request.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And then it for processing that request, it will give it to the
Service.
Service,
service
service
to
layer.
apply the business logic. And now if
Apply
service
the
wants to
business
do some database operations, it will give it to the
repository
Repository
layer.
which will
repository.
help
Will have
to
built-in
add
support
or
for
delete
hundreds
from
of
database.
built-in methods for database communication, and it will use to fetch and store data from the database, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Correct.
And this data which is being flowing from the controller to service, service to repository, if
The
it is
entity object.
if it is an object, that class
Entity.
is which package,
Entity package.
and the fifth package is
Entity.
your application package. What will this application package do?
Here our program will start, sir.
Just a single
Public
line,
starting.
just ignite
Code.
the
Single line code.
just to start up the application, right?
Just to start up the application. Yes, sir.
Yes, so this is your overview of a Spring Boot app. Now let's do it practically. Okay, so whenever y'all are playing around with Spring Boot, so always is my screen visible to y'all?
Yes.
So to start up a fresh Spring Boot application, there is a website called Spring Initializer. Just it called as,
Spring initializer.
which it is.
Yes.
Go there, and now this will make the basic structure of your application. So we are using which language to code? Java.
Java. Java.
Java. Okay, which build system are we using? Maven or Gradle?
Maven.
Maven. Select Maven. Okay. Now these are your various versions of Spring Boot. Lots of modifications has happened after version 3. So before version 3, that is 2.7.18, 2.7.17, and after version 3, lots of reforms have happened. Okay. So let's stick to this stable version of 3.1.5. Now what package structure you want? So you can say I want my package structure as form.scs dot, let's say I'm doing it for a college, so I'll give it as aims. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Description is when you will download this R file, what you want to see. So on what should be the name of the R file? So
College.
that will be over here. Okay. College management system. Okay. Now you can just give a description: college management system to store and fetch details of students and teachers, blah blah. This is not mandatory. Just
It is description we can write.
yeah, so just you can give it blank also, not compulsory. Now artifact is the name of your package. What is the package name? And group is the name of your application, your domain. What is your domain? So
S
the concatenation of your group and artifact forms the package structure. Okay. And we'll pack it in a jar file. Which Java version are you all having stored?
8.
Java, which Java version are we having? Let me check on my machine which Java version I have. I have 8, 1.8. So let me go to with 1.8, Java 8. Okay. So it should not give any tantrum. So let me use a older version of the snapshot. Okay. Now we will require a lot of built-in classes. So for that we called as dependency. One second, guys. Okay, so let's go back to this old version and now add the dependencies. These are your jar files which we'll be needing. Okay, so first dependency you should add is web. Which dependency?
Web.
So this will add all your Tomcat servers and all that stuff for web application. Okay. Second, if you want to play around with database, add the JPA dependency. You see over here. So add the JPA dependency. This will be for your database. Okay, then which database are we using?
MySQL.
MySQL. So for that, you have to add the driver for the MySQL. So for that, just search MySQL and it will give you MySQL driver. Take that also. Okay, so these three dependencies are sufficient for you all for the initial project. Okay, this MySQL driver will give you the latest driver 8.0.3. So who's having version 8.0.3 for MySQL? I guess you guys, those have
Yes, sir.
installed MySQL Workbench.
Yes, sir. I also have. Yes.
You all have 8.0.3, right?
Yes.
So for you guys, it is perfect that you all use this MySQL driver. My driver is a bit old, 5.1.15. So I don't add this dependency for my sake, but you all can add it. So I remove this dependency. So I will manually add my driver jar.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now the skeleton of the program is ready. Just go through it once.
Sir, we can do this same things from Eclipse also, no, sir? If we have
Because when
installed.
you're getting the option ready-made, then why you want to go the long route?
Mm.
So start with the
Okay.
Spring Initializer.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
So Maven,
Okay, sir.
Java 2.0.1.8. This is the package structure. Don't put any capitals in the package name. Okay, Java 8 jar file and the two dependencies which you have added. Okay, you all should add the third dependency also. I will not add, and I will manually import that. And now click on generate. So when you click on generate, a project gets downloaded. You see over here.
Yes.
So if you see you see over here.
Yes.
So now
Yes, sir.
we copy this project and put it in a blank folder anywhere. Okay, so I go to SCS and I make a blank folder. First Spring Boot project. Okay, and extract it over there. Right click and WinRAR and extract here. And now paste this extracted folder in the workspace which you have created. So where is my workspace? My workspace is over here, Eclipse Java programs. So I paste that over here. Got it, guys? What we have to do?
Sir, we can import also, no?
Yeah, do what
File.
you are comfortable with.
Yes, sir.
I will come here and I will now say file and open project from file system.
Yes, sir.
Search for my project and I have pasted in my workbench aims. I will select this folder and select folder and I will finish. And now it is downloading those jars for me. You see over here. So internet should be on when you're doing this activity because it will
Yes.
download all the jars, the driver jar, the web jar for Tomcat.
How, sir? But matlab, what is the backend process? Means how it will download all the things for you?
That Eclipse will take care of it.
Okay, sir.
So it is now configuring your project. So this is just 0% right now. So wait for this to be 100%. Until that, don't open your project. So you will see that project on the progress
Then
project explorer.
now source in Java doc.
Yeah, so the project is over here. Okay, don't open it right now. It is now downloading all those required jar files from the internet. So your internet should be on when you are doing this activity. So based on the internet speed and the laptop performance, time might vary. For those who have a faster internet connection and a higher-end configuration laptop, this should be in a minute. It should be done in a minute. At time it takes 3, 4, 5 minutes also, depending on the laptop speed and internet speed. Yeah, done. Mine is pretty fast, so it's done. Okay. So I go here to show the red sign. So now I expand my project. Okay. You see? So now it has given me a form.xml. This form.xml. Now why is it showing a red dot over here? Why is the form.xml acting notorious? So let's see if it has downloaded all the Maven dependencies. See, all these dependencies have been downloaded.
XML version 1.
Okay. So yeah, this is just the UTF. This is not compulsory. Also, you can delete the prologue. But then why is it again showing a red over here? Okay. So you have got the basic structure now in your application. So this is your main, and now right click over here and go to new, and now start making your packages. Which is the first package we have to make?
Entity.
Form dot SCS dot AMS dot. But where is the application package? The main method is there, right? Where is that file? By default, it makes a package which has
Yes, sir.
class.
Yes, sir.
That
Main.
also is missing over here. That also is missing. It is over here. See, it has made the main application, right? This is just your main method. Just keep it as it is. But why has it kept it over here? I'm not understanding. Where it should have been over here. Where it should have been over here. So if I take any of my previous Maven Java, right? Yeah, Maven Java. If I take any of my existing project, if we over here SRC main Java, it's over there. It should have been over here. SRC main Java and SRC main resources. Where is the SRC main Java? Right click, build path. 1.8 library is there. Project has not been added successfully. There has been a problem with the form. There has been a problem with this form. This seems to have not been imported correctly. So let me use any existing form. Let me use Yeah, looks like it now. Yeah, now it's building the project. Now let me go and check whether the folder structure has been corrected. Still no. This is not the proper folder structure. This project has not been downloaded properly. So what I'll do is I'll remove this from here. Remove everything, close on. And now I go back to file, open project from file system, directory. The select and finish. SRC main resources. SRC main Java from SCS. This package, what I'm trying to say is this package should have come over here. You see in this example, you see this SRC main Java, SRC main resources.
Yes, sir.
So that is what I'm trying to show you all. That there has been what I'm trying to show. Okay, so now we have this AIMS package, right? So now which package do we have to make more now in the SCS? This is the application package, right? Right click, new. Package by what name? Entity, correct? Let's make a fresh one more file. Let me make one more fresh Spring initializer project. Initializers, we have Java, Maven 2.7.8. Okay. form.scs dot okay college. So com.scs.college and Java 8 jar file, add the dependencies, take web and take JPA. And for you guys, you'll also take which one? MySQL driver. But I will not take MySQL driver. And form SCS dot college. Okay. And I go to generate. So it gives me this. college.file, I take it and paste it in SCS. Extract it. Paste it to your workbench. And now go and import it. Open from file system, directory, D, college, select folder and finish. Okay, build has been done successfully. Now I go to my college folder and see the structure. Okay, now you see over here, SRC main Java, SRC main resources, guys. You all there?
Yes,
Can you
we
see?
are.
So this is what I was looking for.
Why it is showing Java problems 98 items?
Where? Just forget that. That is what.
Okay.
Markers out.
Yes.
There should not be any red dot over here. You see a red dot against the class demo. You see this? You see a red dot against class demo.
Yes.
There should not be a single red dot. That is a problem. Rest we can know. So now this is our main package now. Com SCS college, and this has my main application, correct? Now in this, what all packages will I make? First will be controller, correct?
Yes, sir.
Next will be college dot. Tell me.
Service.
Service. Next,
Repository.
college dot.
Repository.
Next,
Entity.
okay, all good. And the application is already there. This is the application package. Okay, now let's make a controller now. Okay, so right click, new. That is a class. That is a. So what will I tell it? College controller. Okay, this is understood so far. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the Spring IOC container. What does the IOC container do? What is the job of the IOC container?
To manage the beans.
Hmm?
To manage the beans.
What does it do?
To manage beans, sir.
Yeah. So which class bean will be there in the IOC container?
Pom dot.
IOC container will
Maybe
have
pom dot. Yes, sir. Maybe here I can see pom dot XML.
the IOC container will have beans of all the classes which are mapped
Yes.
with add component, mapped
Add,
marked
add component.
app component. So Control Shift O will so which all classes will the which all classes bean will the IOC container have? Those classes which are marked with.
Add component.
So it should be marked with add component, or it should be marked with add repository, or add service, or add controller. See, will I use request mapping everywhere? Will I use request mapping everywhere? So So if I want to save, what will I use?
Get mapping.
Save is get or what?
Get no, it's put the post.
Put post.
What
Yes,
will I,
post.
instead of that I will use
Sorry,
what?
post mapping. Yes,
So
get for selecting.
I can use component everywhere. But when I know this is my controller class, then which annotation will I use? Which annotation will I use?
Controller.
Okay, controller or rest controller, whichever. So let's use rest controller. Because we will be written data in JSON format. So if the class has an annotation of either or add component or add repository or add service or add controller, the IOC container will have bean of that class. The IOC container will have what? Beans of that
Class.
class, ready made. So if I want to have a bean of the controller, what all options do I have? I can annotate it with add rest controller or add component. But when I know it is a controller class, then use that specified bean annotation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And now, whenever the client will send the request, okay, it will send it like this: http:// okay, my server is on my local machine, right? And I have to give a port number. Let's say I give port number 8083. After that, what should I have? So let's say if I am keeping college, and if I, let's say, keep Wadia college. So if you want to keep this is called as base URL. What is this called as? What is this called as?
What's a big
Base.
Base URL, because all the
Base URL,
endpoints will be after this now. All the endpoints will be after your base URL. So what your college / add teacher. Okay. All your endpoints will be after the base URL. So delete teacher. So do you want to give anything after the port? After the port, do you want to give any string? So if you want to give that string, give it above the class name as request mapping. Okay, and in double quote, give that base URL. But what have you given? Have I understood? So now every request will have this string, should have this string in it. So the base URL will be your server machine IP address. Now currently my server is on the same machine as my client is. So it is called localhost. I will also specify a port on which my application is running. After that, I have to give this keyword in all of my endpoints. And then my real actual endpoint starts from here. So this is your base URL and this is your endpoint over here. So if you want to add a student, how will the front end access the add student? How will the front end access the add student like this? Getting it?
Yes, sir.
So now if I want to make a test, okay, so I'll just say add get mapping. What happened? I'll just make a simple one. Get mapping. And I'll just make an endpoint, let's say greet / okay, use a / and I'll make a public string function which would do this activity for me. And what would that return? Would return welcome. So if someone tries to access this endpoint, so how will we okay, now to give some other settings to my application, I need to go to the resources package. Okay, and in that go to the application properties, and over there set the server.port port. On which port you want to run the application? I will say my port is 8083. What is my port?
8083.
So now, can you tell me what is the endpoint to access this method? What will it be?
HTTP localhost
localhost colon which port?
8083
Slash.
/ and what Wadia College. Yes.
Okay. Then
Enter.
slash. This endpoint will be accessed by which string?
Yes. Great.
What is the action?
Okay.
Greet. So now if I hit this on my internet, on my web browser, what will be the output?
Welcome.
What will be the output? Welcome.
Welcome.
Just a simple, it is not using any business logic in it, just the controller is sending the response to me. And now
Yes,
I have added my application properties and I given server.port as 8083. I save this. Okay. As of now, I'm not doing any database connectivity. So when I want to database connectivity, I have to give the driver. You guys have just given the dependency, but my driver is old. So I have to add the driver explicitly. So I have to go to configure build path. Okay. Go to your libraries and add external jars and down pick up that jar explicitly. Pick up that jar explicitly over here. This is my 5.1.15. So I'm using 8.0.3. So like this, I have to add. So either you add the jar physically, manually, or you add it via dependency. So now let me start this application. Right click, run as. Okay, go to the application file always. Go to your main file and right click, run as Java application. Run as Java application. Then I close the console. So window, show view and console. Okay, it is starting my application. And if it shows you what it is telling me, fail to
URL.
data source. I am not using any. Okay, it is telling me data source you are using. So for that, let's take. So I have a format of the application or properties. You can use this format. You can use this format for your application also. I'll just share the format with you all. So just take this format for your application properties. Okay, use this format. Control A, Control C, and you all can use the same. What is my port? And now I should have this database ready with me. Okay, so in your MySQL, you have to go and make a database. So I start my database. So what I have specified over here is the name of the database I will be using. So I should have a database by this name. Okay, so I'll just change the database. I'll make a new database. Okay, SCS DB. I made. So my server has started. I go to my local host. And able to see my screen, right? And now I make a database over here. Okay, SCSDB is already there. So I make SCSDB new. SCSDB. I make a database by this name and I make the changes in my application also. So my database name is SCSDB new. And my username is root, password is blank. Now try to run the application. Okay, it is telling me The application has started. It is running on port 8083. So now you can open a browser and try to hit this endpoint. So what will be that be? Yes, anyone? Localhost
Localhost colon 8083
slash
slash college whatever.
slash.
Great.
Now what it is giving me?
Welcome.
It is able to access that endpoint, correct?
Yes, sir.
So now if I make one more endpoint over here and I want to access that. So I go to my controller and I want to, let's say, make an endpoint welcome to Spring Boot. So what will I do?
The same get mapping
Okay, and if I say Spring Boot
spring.
is the endpoint,
Okay.
I want to say,
Welcome to.
okay,
Yes.
so I say whatever method name I want to give ABC. That is not a problem.
Yes.
So welcome to.
Spring boot.
So now as I have made changes in my application, I have to stop the application and then rerun it. If you make any changes, stop the application and rerun the application. Now I want to display this on the screen. Welcome to Spring Boot. Now what will I do?
Localhost colon
Hmm.
8083
Hmm.
then slash Wadia College
Dash.
and Spring Boot. Yes, enter.
Till Wadia College is your base URL. Till Wadia College is your
Base URL.
here is your base URL.
Sir, instead of that, if I write only slash instead Wadia College,
Means
8083. Sir, in our program, sir.
hmm.
In our program, not here, sir.
Program, yes.
Instead of here, sir, line number 9, if I write only slash
Hmm.
and write, if I enter, then what
Then if you
happens,
want
sir?
to give only slash, then no need to work the slash only. If you want to directly give 8083 slash Spring Boot,
Yes, yes,
then remove the Wadia College.
yeah. So,
Okay, so base URL should be there. And now with
okay,
the
sir.
base URL, I want to hit this endpoint. Which is that endpoint?
Spring Boot. Yes,
Okay,
yes, sir.
it is sending me the response. Is this understood, guys?
Yes, sir. I get it, sir. Sir, when we start JSP, sir?
No, once JSP is not needed now. Once your
Okay,
HTML is done, no,
okay, sir.
it's sufficient for you all. So just
Okay,
sublet I had done just to show all the flow. Like
yes,
what
sir.
is action and how what is the web XML doing, what is routing. So
Yes, sir.
once you're understood web XML, then you can understand the controller also.
Yes,
And controller is the most simplified version of web XML. This is the most simple, right? Just you
yes.
have to remember the endpoint.
Endpoint. Yes.
Okay. So now if you want to do addition of two numbers, if you want to do what addition of,
Two numbers.
so you are calling which endpoint?
Addition.
Addition. What is this addition doing?
Add. Int. It will take integer value also, sir.
You can pass that also. Now I'm just doing it simple.
Okay. Yes. Out.
Okay. Now if I want to access this endpoint, what will I do? Save the changes, stop the server, clear the slate,
Restart.
and rerun the application.
Yes.
Now if I want to hit this endpoint, what will I do? Slash addition. What will it give me?
30.
Answer as
Answer is 30. Addition only.
got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if I want to pass the two numbers from the client, if I want to pass the two numbers, okay, then what we can do is make a new variable addition new, okay? And what I can do is that is called as request param. What is that called as?
Request.
Request param. What is that called as?
Request param.
Yes, request. It is called as request param. So in the request param, we can take the variable names. Okay. So I'll take the first request param as n1. First number as what?
N1.
And I will take it in an integer variable n1. And second request param as
N2.
n2. And I will take it which variable? Now no need for these two. So now this is my which endpoint?
Addition new.
And now I am passing how many parameters to it?
2 parameters.
So now when I will try to hit, okay, I have made changes, right? So stop the application, clear the slate, do a rerun. Once you get this message, application started on this port number in these many seconds, you can go to your front end. I go to the front end. Now which is the endpoint?
Addition new.
Addition new. Okay, and now give a question mark. Now give a question mark. Now which is the first parameter?
N1.
What is the first number?
100.
And give a and. Which is the next
And
parameter?
N2. N2, sir.
Now if I do enter, what will it be? Addition is
299.
299.
addition is 200. Why did I not change? Okay, I gave both n1 n1, right?
Yes, sir.
You are given n1 n2, right? So like this, you can pass your parameters. So this I will not require any business logic. So directly my controller is sending you the response. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So if I change the values from here, the response will change. Correct? And this
Yes.
n1 and this n2 should match with the double quotes over here. Okay. Okay. So if I now say num1 and num2, it will throw an error. It will throw an
Error.
error because what have I given as parameters over here? What have I given as parameters over here? Num1 and
Num2.
what am I passing over here on the front end?
N1.
So now if I try to hit this, it will throw an error. What
Yes.
is what is the error code? 400. 400 bad request. 400 means
Bad request.
whatever data you're passing on the front end is bad. So what changes you have to make over here?
Num1 and Num2. Yes, sir.
Got the answer?
Yes, sir.
So like this, you have to keep on playing. And now keep an eye on the response also. So if I say nu1 and num2, what is the output I will get? So is this a valid request param? Nu.
No, sir.
If I hit enter, what will be the output? Bad request, right?
Bad
What
request.
is the error
Yes.
code? What is the HTTP error code? Response code.
400.
Yes. So please keep an eye on the response code. They ask a lot in the interview. So what is 404? This we've been seeing from childhood, right? What is 404?
Bad.
Page not found.
Page not found. Error.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
400. It is 400. Bad request. So data which is coming from the front end, I'm not able to hold that data. I'm not able to match the variables which is coming from the front end. That is your bad request. Okay. So try to start with the simple application and then we'll continue. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tomorrow, what are your commitments, guys?